Hi, my name is Brandon Clayton, the Algebra Guy, and today I want to talk to you about evaluating algebraic expressions. What does it mean to evaluate an algebraic expression? Here's an example of the type of problem you'll be able to solve at the end of this. As you can see, evaluate 5x plus 7y minus 10 when x equals 4 and y equals 11. So the questions I want to answer today are: what does it mean to evaluate an expression, and how does one evaluate an expression? So let's jump in it. What does it mean to evaluate an expression? So by definition, that means to evaluate an expression means to find the value. That means how much is it worth, or what is the number that you get after you finish plugging a number in. So it means to find the value of the expression when the variable is replaced by a given number. How does one evaluate? Well, to evaluate an expression, we substitute the given number for the variable in the expression and then simplify the expression using the order of operations. Okay, a lot of talk, right? A lot of terms. So let's just get into it in practice. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about valuing an expression and replacing it with a number and seeing what the value is. So let's do just that. It says evaluate x plus 7 when x equals 3. So how can I, right now, x plus 7, what's the value of that? Well, we don't know what its value is. What is it, 100? Is it 30? Is it 50? What's the actual value of it? We don't know because we have a variable there that just simply says x. So if we were to replace that x with a number, in this case 3, then we could give it a value. So this will become 3 plus 7, and we all know that's going to be 10. So now it becomes easy, right? That's simple as that when they say evaluate. Let me erase this. So the next one, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to replace, for letter B, x equals 12. So let's make x equals 12 this time. So instead of x plus 7, we're going to replace that x with a 12 and say 12 plus 7. And 12 plus 7 gives us a 19. So when we evaluate this expression, when x equals 12, we get a value of 19. And when x equals 3, we got a value of 10. All right, same thing here. Using this expression, 9x minus 2, first, let's evaluate it when x equals 5. What would be the value if we replace x with 5? So let's do that. 9. And I'm going to change the color just so it can be obvious here that we're replacing that x with a 5. Now, some students get confused and say, do I keep the x there? Well, we can't, because we literally substituted that x for 5. We said x equals 5, so you could put x there, or you could put 5 there. Well, since x is already there, we decided to replace it with 5 to figure out the value. So let's solve it. 9 times 5 is 45. That's 45 minus 2 now. Well, 45 minus 2 gives us 43. All right, same thing here. We're going to replace 9x minus 2. We're going to replace the x with a 1. So this time with a 1 should be pretty easy, right? 9 times 1 is 9. 9 minus 2 is left over, and we have 7. So these are the corresponding values when x is either 5 or 1. And lastly, evaluate x squared when x equals 10. So we have x squared, but what if x was a 10? What would happen? So if x was a 10, and now we squared it, it'd be 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is going to give us 100. So the answer to that question in a complete sentence, when x equals 10, x squared will equal 100. All right, moving on to some more practice problems. Let's see if you can try these before I start. You may want to pause it here and see if you get this right. Evaluate 2 to the x when x equals 5. So now we're simply going to put a 5 in place of here. And if you remember what we did in our exponent lesson, we know that this is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We got 5 2's multiplier. Please don't confuse this for 2 times 5. Just as a quick review, 2 times 5 is when you have 2 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Yeah, so that is for 2 times 5, but this is exponential. So 2 to the power of 5. So that's 2 times 2 is 4. So this will give me 4. 4 times 2 will give me an 8. So this 4 times 2 will give me 8. And then I have another 2. 8 times 2 will give me 16. And this last 2 is going to give me a 32. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. I hope I said enough there. Will be 32. 2 to the 5th is 32. Well, let's evaluate this one. 3x plus 4y minus 6 when x equals 10 and y equals 2. So we got two variables here, but it doesn't matter why, because they told us what each variable equals. We just simply need to plug it in. So let's rewrite it. 3x plus 4y minus 6. But this time we're going to replace the x with a 10 and the y with a 2 and minus 6. And by the way, this is a concept and practice that you're going to use throughout pre-algebra, algebra, all of, calculus. This stuff's going to keep coming up. Just learning how to substitute. And it may not be something as simple as 10. It could be an expression like x minus 2 that you're going to put in place of x. So just learning how to substitute is very important. All right, let's solve this. 3 times 10 is 30. Plus 4 times 2 is 8. Minus 6, 30. And according to our order of operations, they both are plus or minus. So which one do we do first? We're going to do the one that comes first going left to right, which is this plus sign. So 30 plus 8 is 38. Minus 6. And 38 minus 6 leaves us 32. And our last problem here, 2x squared plus 3x plus 8 when x equals 4. So we're simply going to replace the x with 4. Put parentheses, so we'll do this whole thing, which is 4. And plus 3 times our other x is still 4 plus my 8. All right, so now what do we do first? 2 times 4 or 4 squared? Well, according to PEMDAS, in our last lesson we talked about order of operations. Well, we do our exponents first. So we're going to do 4 squared. So that's going to be 2 times 16 now. Plus 3 times 4, which is 12, and plus 8. So notice what I did. I did the exponents first, and I noticed I had multiplication. So I went ahead and multiplied, and I could have went ahead and multiplied 2 times 16, since at this point, we only had multiplication left. So I'm now going to do this one. 2 times 16 is 32, plus that 12, plus 8. Now these are all pluses, so it doesn't matter which order I do these in, because addition is commutative, so it doesn't matter which order it is. And I see that 12 and 8 is going to be 20, so that's the easiest thing in my head. But I'm going to keep the left and right just to remain consistent. 32 plus 12 is 44. So this piece is giving me 44. And plus 8 more will give me a 52. And that's it. So did we answer our questions? My question in the beginning was, what does it mean to evaluate an expression? If you can answer that, you were paying attention. Evaluate. That means to give the value of an expression once you plug in a certain number. How does one evaluate an expression? Well, we evaluate, like I said, just by taking a number and plugging it back in into an expression and finding that value. Hey, thanks again for tuning in. My name is Brandon Clayton, and I will see you next lesson.